Well, we just wasted 10 minutes of our lives talking about the Eastern Conference playoffs that the Cavs are going to win, barring some significant injuries. But now let's get to the good stuff. I got Vlad Kitajczyk, the NBA expert, here in studios for this momentous NBA playoff preview edition of Sports Break. And I'm going to defer to you on this one. We got 4 series here. Which are you most looking forward to seeing? And what do you expect to see from said matchup?
Well, it has to be the Rockets and Thunder, because when do you have a series right in the first round with 2 of the top tier players are going right at each other right off the bat? These are the 2 guys that are, 2 of the top 5 players in the whole league, and here they are battling each other in the first round. It's a dream come true for a lot of NBA fans that you get to see that right off the bat. Whether you root for Houston or Oklahoma City, it doesn't matter. You want to see the top tier players battling each other against each other, right? So there it is, and it's going to be a fun series. It's going to be up and down. It's going to be exciting. These 2 teams don't play a lot of defense, so it's going to be a lot of scoring, you would assume. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun, wide-open series.
All right, then, Vlad. Well, this is coincidentally a real good transition. The basketball gods have given us this glorious matchup between the top 2 MVP candidates in the first round. We had a mid-season discussion about who you thought would be MVP. Now we got the whole season in the books. It was a regular season award. So who was the regular season MVP, Vlad? Westbrook or Harden?
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, as you know, in the previous show that we did here on your wonderful studios and your wonderful TVs,
yeah,
I picked James Harden as the MVP at that time. Well, unfortunately, for Harden fans and Houston fans, I am changing my pick. I think Westbrook's done enough, especially at the tail end of that season, averaging a triple-double, leading his team, to almost 50 wins. Now, I think they fell a little short, but whatever. They had a great season. He was, he averaged a triple-double, and he just did enough for me the way he ended the season on such a great run to earn the MVP. There could be other names, but Westbrook is my pick. I mean, I hate to say it because I usually don't go with players this low in the seeding, but I have to make an exception, and this is the year to do it.
Well, Vlad, I would have to agree. I mean, the Thunder only lost 8 more games. They had 8 less wins than the Rockets. I don't think that makes too much of a difference. I think he just had too good of a season. He did too much. And yes, he should be the MVP. But this is not an individual matchup. This is the Rockets against the Thunder. Who do you think is going to win?
At the end of the day, Houston just has too much talent. They're just a better all-around team. What can you say? They have more weapons. They have more guys that can, take the pressure off Harden, and they're going to win at the end of the day. I mean, there's just too much there. Westbrook. What happens if Westbrook is double teamed? Who's going to step up for the Thunder? Who can he really rely on to take the pressure off him when things are, get tough? He doesn't have enough there. Houston will. It will be exciting, but Houston will win this series in 6 games.
All right. Well, that was your series that you were most looking forward to. Obviously, for me, the series I'm most looking forward to is the Clippers Jazz. Yep, Clipper fan here. Apologies. Not, actually. But before we talk about a possible Warriors-Clippers playoff showdown, we have to discuss whether the Clippers will get past the Jazz, which is no piece of cake. More like downing a triple shot. Which I can do, but it won't be easy or pleasurable. It will fuck my ass up. And I probably won't be able to wake up the next day to play the Warriors. Which is another concern if this series goes too long for an aging Clippers side that is probably making their last run at the Cup with this core of players. There was a point in this season where I was really going to write off the Clippers and say that they had no chance at this. But they've picked it up at the end of the season. They got all their players back as healthy as they can be. And they're going to have a go at it like this. Vlad, for this series, and for all the viewers out there who may not know much about this team, that's really flown under the radar, the Jazz I'm talking about, team that finished ahead of the Grizzlies and the Thunder. Which players on the Jazz should the Clippers be most weary of?
There's 2 in particular. There's Gordon Hayward, who is their all-star and their best perimeter player. He's the guy that creates for them. He's the guy that creates the offense for them. He's the go-to guy, their scorer, the guy that they can rely on as far as perimeter scoring. And then the second guy is the big guy inside, the Frenchman, Rudy Gobert. He's the guy that he's their inside presence. He's what you were mentioning about Dwight Howard that should be protecting the paint, rebounding, blocking shots. He'll man that middle for them, and he'll make it tough for the Clippers to really and score, go inside, and drive that lane because he will protect that paint. So those are the two players. Those are the two best players, and they're two most important players that you have to worry about if you're a Clipper fan.
All right, and I got to get a prediction off you here. It's the 4-5 matchup, so they're going to be close in talent. Although some would say that the Clippers' injury issues might have prevented the Clippers from getting as high a seed as they might have. Who knows? They seemed very much like a disinterested bunch of guys throughout the season and just trying to make it to the playoffs healthy. But they're clicking now. I know you're not big on the Clippers, but do you think the Jazz have a chance to knock them off or at least push them to the brink?
Well, I hate to say it, but I think the Clippers will. Yes, the Jazz will push them very. They'll push it. They'll make it a tough series, but the Clippers will prevail. There's just too much experience there. They've battled. The Clippers have been battle tested. They've played against the Spurs in the series. They played against Memphis in hard-fought series. They will find a way how to beat this Utah team that doesn't have that same experience. They've never done this. They've never had to really play playoff with that playoff intensity before. They will make it tough, but there's too much experience with Doc Rivers, with Chris Paul, the Clippers, and home court now. The Clippers should find a way how to win this series.
All right, and I would have to agree. And if I'm going to give my official prediction, I will say that the Utah Jazz fans will be walking out of their home stadium after Game 6 with their heads down and very sad because they'll be eliminated. So, yes. All right, Vlad, moving on. Grizzlies, Spurs. Greg Popovich was not happy with his team's performance in their loss to the Clippers last Saturday, vowing that there would be no rest for his players in the final 2 games, with still work to be done. Vlad, Kawhi Leonard has been an NBA MVP candidate the past couple of years. A couple of sparkling offensive and defensive performances that forced people to consider him for MVP, along with Westbrook and Harden. But since, they've lost to the Blazers also. No Tim Duncan to look to. They've still got the experience of Parker and Ginobili. But is this a team that strikes fear into the rest of the Western Conference like they used to?
Well, probably not like they used to, but they're still a team that you have to really watch out for. They have, they have great talent. They have Kawhi Leonard, who is one of the best players in this league. He's one of the best two-way. In fact, he is the best two-way player in the league, offense and defense. He can score, he can defend, he can shut you out. He does it all. He does it all for the team. But the key to the team, as I said very early on in one of our very first shows when we said like how far and who can contend and who can do this, the key to the Spurs is Leonard. However he goes, that's how they go. He's the key to the whole thing. If he plays well and outperforms all of the other great players that he'll have to go up against to make it to the finals, the Spurs can go far and even make some upsets, like upsetting the Warriors. But if it doesn't, then they will have another unsuccessful run at the finals.
All right, well, before you go too far into the Spurs, I want to ask you about the Grizzlies.
Sure.
The Lionel Hollins / Dave Yeager era ended last year. This is not as hard-nosed and brute force a team as it used to be. They actually play small sometimes now. They don't play with both Gasol and Randolph on the floor like they used to. Do you think that's an advantage or a disadvantage when they're going to go against the Spurs?
Well, with Memphis, it's really tricky because they're one of those teams, kind of like they're kind of like the Chicago Bulls of the Western Conference. You don't know what to expect from them. They're so inconsistent. One night they look like they can be anybody, world beaters, can take on all contenders, Warriors, Spurs, Rockets, anybody. Another night they could just lose to anybody, the worst of the worst, So we don't know what you're going to get out of them. They're not the same defensive team that they were. They give up more points now. There's no consistency there. There's a chance that they could turn it on for the playoffs and get that, since it's playoff basketball, that half-court game going of theirs, that grind-out game that they love to play. But at the end of the day, they're playing against the Spurs, who also play really good defense. It would be better if they were played up against a more offensive center team like Houston, like I was saying. But they're not. The Spurs are too good. They're too disciplined, and I don't see it for them in this series. It's just too much to overcome to beat a team like San Antonio. No, it just won't happen.
All right, and we don't have to discuss the Warriors-Blazers too much. It was the Western semis last year after the Clippers went down with injuries. Now it's the 1-8 matchup. Warriors are back to full strength. One question, 4 games or 5.
Simple as that, huh? 4 or 5. Just
Yeah,
like that. That's
4 or
it.
5.
Yeah, there's no in between. I mean, there's no
4.5.
Okay. Yeah, it's a fair question because I think it's gonna be 5. I think there will be a game in Portland that Lillard or McCollum are gonna just go off and they're gonna get that one game that they did basically last year. But that's all about it. So this series, if you're looking for my prediction, it's 5 games.
All right. And Vlad, I gotta end this segment asking you the same question I asked you about the Eastern Conference, but now for the West. Any chance the Warriors don't make it through the West this year?
There's a bigger chance here just because the West it's a superior teams everywhere. So you have, like I said, you have to go through the Spurs. You have to, the Clippers, Houston. These are 3 top tier teams. I don't. I said the Clippers. We know the Clippers. That's your team. We know.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyways.
All right, go on.
Yeah. But it will be a lot tougher for Golden State because of the quality of teams they have to play against. I mean, come on. Let's look at it from a rational standpoint. Who would you rather be playing, San Antonio or Boston? I mean, come on. Let's get real, right? So, yeah, for that reason alone, it'll be tougher. But I do expect the Warriors to prevail at the end of the day when all the smoke is clear and everybody has given their best shot. The Warriors have too much there, and despite the competition, they will find a way to win.
All right, I would have to agree. As much as it pains me to say it, I think the Warriors will beat the Clippers when they play. I mean, unless barring any injuries, if any of the big 4 goes down for the Warriors, I feel they're not as deep a team as they were. They don't have the inside presence. It was always a problem when they didn't have Andrew Bogut when he was injured or something. It kind of hurt them as a team. Now they don't have him. They have Durant instead. But if they lose one of their players, they don't quite have the depth. That's the only thing I would say. As long as they're... I was going to say sober. I don't know why I say sober. As long as they're healthy, they will make it through this playoffs.
That's the thing. You got to make sure they're not sober, man. You got to be their bartender. You got to be the bartender when they play the Clippers. When the Warriors go out clubbing, you're the bartender.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. That's the only way I think you could make it happen.
All right. Exactly. Excellent point, Vlad. The NBA expert.
That's why they pay me the big bucks around here.
That's why we pay him the big bucks. All of our budget. All right, Vlad. So we've got your Western Conference picks. Same as mine. Exactly. Warriors, Clippers, Spurs, and Rockets.
Absolutely.
When we come back, we'll wrap up the show with some final thoughts.